We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to the Dotcast from NineDots. NineDots is the online learning community for wedding photographers. You can become a member and find out about our annual conference, the NineDots Gathering, at nine-dots.co.
Hey everybody, welcome to the NineDots Dotcast. It's me today, Rahul Khona, and I'm going to be talking to Rocio, who's speaking at the NineDots Gathering this year.
Hello.
Are you excited about the gathering speaking this year?
Oh yes, like I really heard really nice things about it, and I like the idea of like the gathering. It's like it's not a conference, it's not like one more conference, and the ping pong. I've been told about the ping pong, the party, and the beers.
Yeah, everyone loves the ping pong, the table tennis. It's one of the reasons we chose a venue. You know, like it's such a like cool venue to. It's not a conference venue, which is why it's so nice. You know, like you get to mingle with everyone, and everyone's on the same
nice.
like level, which is like it's quite cool.
It makes it more an experience.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we wanted, you know, not just to come sit, listen to some talks, and then, you know, go home kind of thing. Make it more of an experience.
Yeah, because actually, when you spend time with people, it's when more conversations come along, and it's also interesting. It's also growing, you know.
Yeah, it's great for networking as well, you know, like people bouncing off each other, sharing referrals, or people second shooting with each other. Nowadays, there's even people that just meet up to do some street photography or just go for a beer or coffee. So it's cool that we were able to like connect these guys all together.
Yeah, it's nice, and I've really heard really good things about it, so I can't wait.
Yeah, well, hope it lives up to your expectations. Let's see though. No, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. So I wanted to talk to you, you know, like I love your work, and obviously you use a lot of like flash and like especially off-camera flash. So like how did you get started in, you know, or why did you think like off-camera flash? Or
I got started with the off-camera flash, I think it like around 2012, so it's been a long time ago. And I was just like, my camera at that time was like the Canon 5D. It was a really good camera, but I needed a little bit more, and I started experimenting with it, and I had an assistant with a monopod, you know, and all these things. After a while of that, I took out all the flashes, and I went more like natural light and all these things. But little by little, I've been coming back to the flashes. And it's been a while already, and I really like it because it's a tool, you know, like any other tool. And at the beginning, like 3 years ago, I was like kind of struggling, because I was feeling like I was putting myself into a suit of, I'm a documentary photographer, and I was feeling bad if I was using the flash. But then not always the light is good enough. The available light, it sucked sometimes. So I was struggling with that. But I went to Arles, you know, in France. There's Arles, and then they have a photography convention and thing, and it's just like exhibitions all around the city. And there I saw the exhibition of Alex Maioli. And he was giving a speech there, and he uses flash in his documentary photography. And it was just like a mind-blowing moment. And I made a lot of questions to him, and it was like, okay, it's not bad to use the flash. You can use it in a documentary way. So that really switched all my work around, and I started using the flash. And now, you know, like, I always bring it with me. If I don't have to use it, I don't use it, but I always have it there, you know. And sometimes I would just put it or put it in a tripod, or put it with a clamp, and I have it there. And if I need it, I just switch it on or switch it off, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you shoot in England, there's always rubbish natural light. It's never any good. So, you know,
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, to be fair, you know, unless you're shooting on a beach at sunset or something, then you're gonna have amazing light. But apart from that,
yes, but you know,
most
like
of the time,
we should like, because at the beginning I was just like using it in churches or inside, and 2 years ago almost 3 years ago I had an outside wedding, and I love outside weddings, blah blah blah. But then the bride was in the shadow of the tree,
Oh
and the
no.
groom was in the sun, and it was just like really really hard, and I was so mad at myself because my flashes were in my car, and I couldn't stop shooting and go bring my flash, you know. So since that ceremony, I always put my flash. If I don't need it, I don't use it, but it's always gonna be there, you know.
Yeah, I do pretty much exactly the same, to be fair. I always have them ready, and then if I do need it, then I'll use it. If I don't, they're just there on the side. But at least I don't have to, like you say, kick yourself in the foot and be like, oh my God, you know, if I just had this one flash, then it would have helped me here, or, you know, and
Yes,
stuff like
and
that. Like,
it's like sometimes you use it like more in a creative way to make a picture that it's more artistic or creative, but sometimes you just need it like and sometimes in some of my pictures you cannot tell that there's a flash, but there was a flash. So it depends also the way you use it, and with the modifiers that you use it, it's going to make the all difference on the look of the picture.
for sure. I think that's the skill, because I think most people love to use off-camera flash to make more creative images, but I love looking at images and then realizing that, oh, they use like flash here, and like you can't tell because they've balanced it so well with the ambience, which is like a
Yeah.
really hard skill to get right, you know, because not only is it like exposing, but also like getting the color temperature right, or like putting the right modifier or gel on the flash to
Yes,
so it
it's
balances
a
with
lot of
everything.
it's a lot about the modifier you use and the way, the position that you put the flash. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, do you use the flashes like all the time? Well, you bring them out all the time, and then if you need to use them, you use them. If you don't, you don't. You just
Yeah, I will always put like a flash in a tripod, but also there's a flash in the monopod, always like 10 steps away from me. Because if I'm in a hurry or something happens or whatever, I just grab my monopod and I can hold it for myself, and I have the light on the side for me. Or if my assistant or somebody's there, they just grab it, you know?
yeah.
And,
So you'll carry your camera in one hand and then a monopod with like a flash on the other.
yes, when I have to do that, yes, I would do that. At the beginning, it was just with my hand, but my arms are not that long, you know? So I figure out like if I put it in a monopod, it's making my arm longer.
Yeah. Spreading the light
Kind of, you have to learn to do it, you know, and it could be like sometimes I do that in the party, but it depends on the party because sometimes could be really dangerous to do that. But normally, like you can, if you know how to move your body and if you're confident about it, and if you do it like constantly, you get used to it, and it's really nice way to light up, and it's better than having the flash on top of your camera anyways, you know.
Yeah. I haven't put my flash on top of a camera in like probably like 3 years, or maybe even longer. I was always rubbish at bounce flash, because that's another good skill to have, you know, like some people are brilliant at using at bounce flash and moving the flash in the right angle and bouncing it off the right wall, and
Yes.
I was just never good at it. And
Yes,
like,
I think me neither. You know, like I've done it, but it depends on it just depends on the place you are and what's the ceiling or what it's bouncing to. So for me, it's like you cannot control it that much, and I prefer to control things. It's like I always use my flashes in manual mode. I have no idea how to use TTL or anything of that. I don't
me
want.
neither. I don't even know how to use any of that stuff. I
Yes.
fully manual. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want the machine to wait to think for me. So same if I bounce a flash, if I'm going to stay in the same place, like stay still, okay, because I made the decision. But if I move around, it's gonna bounce in different places every time. So I'm not thinking. it's just like letting it to the universe wherever it bounces, So, but I respect the people that do it like that. I'm like, wow, like I'm not able to do that.
Yeah, some people, I can't think of the top of my head, but I've seen some people do it and they do it really well and
Yeah.
and nail it. But I look at them in awe, going, man, I wish I could do, because it'll be quite nice sometimes, like freeing to be able to do that. Because sometimes when I'm using, I don't know about yourself, but when I'm using off-camera flash, like if I set it up in a room or in a hall or whatever, there's certain areas which are just like dead spaces. Because the light is not reaching there, and there's nothing I can do about it unless I bring 10 flashes or something like that. And then those people to me are like dead. Like, if anything happens in that space, I can't shoot it. And sometimes some really cool stuff does happen in that space, and I've been like,
but if you have your flash in your monopod, you could reach it,
Yeah, I might have to buy a monopod. I don't own one, so.
Oh yes, you have to. But like there's one this year. We shot a wedding with Frank, and it was really challenging because it was like 4 tents altogether, but it was not nice at all, like the tents and per se were not beautiful. So the entrance, we did it as we shoot normally with the monopod and all these things. And then I looked at the pictures in the camera and I was like, oh my god, this sucks. I don't like it. It doesn't look good because of what you're saying, and it was just like, I remember we sat down and I was just looking at the camera and I was just like squeezing my brain, like how do we solve this? What do we do in this situation? So I remember taking like 4 napkins and putting the 4 napkins on top of the table and saying, okay, each of these napkins is square, like because there were 4 tents together.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my god, what we have to do is we just put the clamps and we bounce the flashes towards the ceiling, so we make everything with light. And it was just amazing, because I've never done that before, because normally we have like a other type of things or other type of tents, and you can light them in a different way. So I put my flashes in my tripods or whatever. But this one, like, it was not working because the light couldn't reach everybody because there were the sticks of the tents,
Oh yeah.
So it was really hard to light it. But suddenly when I realized that bouncing it to this, because they were white, so there was light everywhere. So no matter where things were happening, I have light. So sometimes you just like cannot say like I always do this like this and it works. I do have my system. I do have my sketch, like my starting point. But then after you just have to adapt yourself to whatever you find,
Yeah, no, 100%. For me, it's just that I never am intense. Just the way that all my weddings are, like I'm in the marquee now and again, but most of them will just suck the light in.
Yeah.
So like these it's a very rare situation where, people are being in dead space, like, and I'm sometimes, sometimes like for me, in my weddings, the bar is like on the other end, or it's even in another room sometimes. So like, if the bride and groom are suddenly there doing shots with their friends, then I just quickly run and I take one of the flashes and I run it with me, and then I put it by the bartender or something, and then I'll start shooting that way. Like, and pray that no one knocks over the flash, or it doesn't fall on anyone or whatever. But that's the only way I've done it. But there are sometimes when I've missed moments, like purely because no one is in that space. But it's like I kick myself at that moment in time. Then sometimes when I drive home, I kick myself going, oh my God. But by the time I deliver the images and I do the slideshows, it's like no one even remembers, that little hug or that kiss. Like I remember it, but those guys, they're too drunk or they're having a good time. They don't remember it. And I've got other hugs and kisses of that same nature anyway. But in the beginning, I am like literally like punching myself in the face going, oh my God, how did I miss that? How did I miss that? Like there should have been light here.
We always make mistakes, huh?
Yeah.
But it's also the beauty of photography, because I don't think for me, it's never perfect. I never do my perfect job. I always make mistakes. So my first question every time I leave a wedding, it's like, okay, what did I do wrong? How could I have done something better of what happened, and just right away, because everything is fresh in my mind. And then when I see the pictures, when I'm selecting my work, and I am mad with myself, and I say, oh my God, why did you do this? But I learn, like I think, okay, I did this, but I could have done it this way. So I think like thinking this way has given me, like, it helps me to have tools when I find myself in trouble in a wedding, like this tense situation. It's like, what can I do? So I think about it before, because I've seen situations like this, and in the past I was not able to solve it, but now I have the solution in my mind because I've already thought about it at home many other times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's one of the reasons I call like quite quickly after a wedding, because everything is still fresh in my mind, and then I can see my mistakes. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I should have been here, I should have been there, or just little things that I've messed up on, or even some big things now and again. But that's why, like, I mean, this is a totally different subject now. I'm totally going on a tangent, but this is why like, like I like to cull everything myself, and I like to edit everything myself, because it teaches me every time I go for a wedding. It like
you are your own best teacher.
sometimes, but like at least I can realize my faults and my mistakes, and also like when it comes to the editing side, I guess I know how powerful or how much I can do with that file as well. For my look. So then I know that, oh, if there's just a little bit of light over here, it's still all right with my off camera, because I know that it will all come out nicely in the edit. But then I'll also know, if it's completely like dark, then it's not going to look like my look, and it's not going to come out good in the edit. So that's why, like, I think it's important to do stuff yourself, because like you said, you're your own best teacher, and you can really like understand your mistakes, and then
it's like there's no mistake if there's a teaching thing, like if you learn from it, it's not a mistake, it's like it's a lesson. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's always a lesson. That's what I tell myself.
If you learn from it. If you don't learn from it, it's just a mistake.
Yeah, no, true. I do try to learn from my mistakes, but then sometimes, oh man, I've been at weddings where my brain just goes dead and I made the same mistake again. But then the third time I won't make that mistake, because then I have learned. So
sometimes I feel like, oh my God, how come I make this mistake once and again and again and again? Like, oh.
Yes,
it's just like always things happen fast, and I'm really picky with my composition and my edges and the hands and not cutting. And sometimes you just cut because it's you cannot predict exactly where the people are going to move their hands and things like this. So
that's one of my biggest like bugbears, like when hands are cut off, or I cut off a head, or even an ear. It's either ears in or out, like for me, or like I get that picky as well, because like when I'm like culling, I'm just like, oh my God, why didn't you just take the smallest of step back, and you could have had his hands in. And even though they love the moment, the emotion, to me, all I can see is the tops of the fingers chopped off. I can't see anything else in that frame anymore. It's just literally all I see is the bottom of the frame. The hands are gone. I'm like, oh, I hate myself for that,
I totally recall with that.
Yeah, but the couples, they don't care. When you deliver it, they're still like, oh, it's amazing or whatever. But for me, I'm like, oh, it's not right. Yeah.
With your own pictures, like if a photographer comes and shoot pictures of you and your family, you are not going to be that picky.
No, you're right.
It has happened to me because Frank and I were really, really picky. He's just like super picky, and we have had photographers shooting us as family, and when they deliver the pictures, they're always like, oh my God, what are they gonna say? But actually, for us, it's just like the moment, and it's really important. We have to keep this in mind, like I'm really picky, I'm super technical, but I cannot forget what's really important, like the real moment and the emotion that it's behind. So it's just about a balancing thing.
Yeah, I'm the same, I think. Like when I get photos back as well with people that take it, I'm not that picky. Even if I give the camera to my cousin or to someone random and they take a photo, and I'm just like, I like it because it's just a nice memory. Yeah. But sometimes I take photos of my daughters, and you know what? I just think to myself, oh, you were so close. Why did you chop the top of her head off? Like I look at my photos that way, and I still keep the photos of my daughters, but then I'm like, I just like, just really like, I get really frustrated. And then I keep learning. I think that's a good way to learn as well. Just like by me for like shooting my own kids. Like I because they're so fast, it makes you try to not react fast, but like slow down and figure out what their next move is, and then be ready for them. So then you can just like be like a sniper and be like, yes, I got that frame or whatever you wanted, you know?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you something. I can, no?
Yeah, of course.
So do you use modifiers for your flashes? I'm curious.
Yeah. I don't use too many, you know, like, okay, so when I first started, I used to have everything. I had like these pro photos, and I used to have like the umbrellas and soft boxes, and then those, I don't even know what they're called, but the hard kind of softbox. Like, I don't even know. I don't even know. I'm not even technical with it. But like anyway, it was just like created like hard light and stuff, and I used to do all this stuff, and then a mag mod came out, and basically I just use mag mod on, well, every flash has the mag mod.
What's your favorite mag mod?
Mag sphere. But to be fair, for portraits, that's like the a gel grid and the mag sphere basically is what I use. Yeah, and then when I shoot like a reception, so every reception I shoot is always off camera flash, like throughout the whole thing. It's just bare flash with a CTO gel.
Oh,
So,
really? Bare with just the CTO. Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Like
I think my favorite tool from MacMod is the MacBeam. I just love the MacBeam.
really, you know what? You're gonna have to show me how to use
Yes,
it.
I could say the MacBeam is my lover.
I've got the mag beam, and you know all those funky like the silver cutout.
Oh yeah.
But I've never used it.
No, I don't use that much. Because the MacBeam has two different type of lenses. So with the silver things, I like that, but I don't use them that much.
Okay.
That it's more for creative things, creative shots. But what I use the most is the magnifier, the telelens one.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because it multiplies my light, and so I can use my flash in a lower power. Yes, a lower power, so I can shoot more, and I don't have to change batteries that much. And I use now the Godox,
Yeah, same.
the 8200. That it's a little bit bigger, but it's so good, and the battery is big, and you can shoot like almost a whole wedding with it. And if you put that with the MacBeam, so that is my to go. If I can only have one flash and one modifier, it would be this one,
Really? I might have to try I might have to try the mag beam out.
Oh yes, you have to.
So
It's a harsh light, but I like harsh light, so that's my thing. I like that light.
yeah.
But
Do you use it during the ceremony then as well?
Oh yes, and like when you are in an outside ceremony and the sun is there,
Yeah.
with the MacBeam, boom, you can kill the light. Like for me it's the only way to, if it, like this summer we had a wedding, 42 degrees, 1 p.m. in Valladolid, in the center of Spain. And so the bride and the groom were in the shadow, but the bride's dress was in the sun.
Oh.
So if I hadn't had the 8200 with the MacBeam, either the dress was blown away or they were dark. And thanks to the MacBeam, I put it towards their faces and their bodies, and I could kind of, like, you can see there's a different light, because of course there is, but the dress is correctly exposed and they are correctly exposed.
Yeah.
And that is, for me, that's a game changer.
Yeah, I might have to try it. You know what? Like, I'm a sucker. I buy all the gadgets, so I've got everything that mag mod. Up until they released this mag softbox.
I just have it, and it's just amazing, but it's too big.
It's too big. That's the thing.
For portraits, and maybe I'm gonna bring it this year for some weddings. Maybe if I have like a 2 or 3 day wedding, that I have a lot of those, that I have more time and I have time to do like some portraits. So maybe for those weddings, I'm gonna bring that, because the light is just amazing. It's just so beautiful, so soft.
Like, okay, I mean, I love the light that most softboxes produce, like whether it's Magmod or Profoto or Elinchrom, like
Yeah.
softboxes just produce amazing light, but they're just too big. And whether it's with magnets or not, I've seen the case that, like the video promos for it. It's just like I'm trying to streamline all my stuff so it's the smallest. So
Yeah, no, me too. I use
like,
Fuji, the smallest cameras and
yeah,
everything. But like if I have to go just for one day wedding, I wouldn't bring it because it's too much. But if I'm gonna be like there the whole weekend and we're gonna have different activities and things, then I will bring it because I know at some point it's gonna be really good for my photography and to take this time to do portraits because I want to be a complete photographer, So this year it's like what I'm going to focus on, like I've been a really documentary moment photographer, but I also want to shoot details and to shoot the best portraits I can. So I'm going to start doing these things also.
yeah, nice. I mean, it's good. Like I when I first started, I was really into like portraits, and then I started getting more and more into like documentary and like emotion and stuff like that because it really like resonated with me a lot. But
Yeah.
even for me, I think this year, like I really want to change and step up my portrait game, and like really mix things up and do some like cool stuff. So sometimes, like I have all these ideas in the beginning of the wedding season, but then when it
Yeah.
comes to the weddings, I just get lazy and I just fall back into like what I know and what they've booked me for, if that makes sense, like what I'm decent at.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh man, so I'm really gonna like. I think that's the one beauty about doing less weddings is that now I can be like less lazier when I go to a wedding. I feel more excited and I can
Yes, I
try
think
new
it's
things as
a
well.
big thing. Yes,
Yeah.
because if I shoot too many weddings, I'm gonna get tired and I'm gonna get super lazy. But I try to keep my numbers like low, like 12, 15 the most, because I think if I've shot like one year I shot like 36 weddings or things like this, and it's too much. It's too much, and you kind of get super tired of it. But if you shoot a good number that you're comfortable with and that you have time also to do your post production, to deliver with time, to get involved as much as you can. So the same for the wedding day, because you're not as tired. But if you are shooting weddings on Fridays and Saturdays and Wednesday, and then and all of them like really straight on 3-4 months every weekend and Friday Saturday, you get tired and you
Yeah.
cannot be creative, and you get lazy because you don't want to do all these things.
Yeah. I have found myself doing that before as well. But like, yeah, like I like to try and do about 20. So 20 weddings for me is comfortable and quite nice. And yeah, makes me not lazy, sort of. You know?
Everyone has to find their sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so let me ask you, like, when was the first wedding that you did like fully, off camera? I'm just trying to think. Like for me, I remember I did this one wedding reception, and I got a second shooter because I really wanted to nail like off camera flash. So I got a really good second shooter to come with me. Obviously paid them and everything. And I was just like, look, you're gonna shoot this reception as if it's yours, and I'm gonna shoot as if I'm a second shooter, but then I'm gonna use off camera flash. So you're like my safety, and I'm gonna mess around, and this is how it's gonna be. And I did that like 4 or 5 years ago or something. And
Oh, yes, for
and
me that it's been like 8 years.
did you have a second, or did you just suddenly just
Oh, so
just
so
switch?
when I started doing this, I had I contracted an assistant. He was just there to hold the flash for me back then. I've had many things. I've had second shooters. I've had assistants. I go back and forth one thing and another. And now lately, like the last 2 years, I'm just going like there's no second shooter, it's more assistant. So like they have their camera and they can shoot something, whatever, but their priority is to be there for me, for my flash and my monopod.
Okay, that's cool. What I was trying to get at was like, obviously the first time you shoot a wedding, like off camera flash or a reception or something, you're obviously taking a risk. So when you decided to do this, you weren't, well, you took a really big risk because you just had the assistant. You didn't even have someone second shooting like I did, I guess.
Yeah, but I was taking this is 2012, And I was already taking risks because I was just shooting before I was just shooting with the flash on top of my camera, and that sucked. So
Yeah.
and I don't know, it's like and for a long time I was like putting my flashes in the tripods, and I was always with my camera with the flash on top of it. So I had two cameras. So like even if it was not super good to have the flash on top of the camera, it was like the safe place to be, you know. And after when it was with the Mac with the Mac Sphere, I would have my camera, one camera with the flash on top of it with the Mac Sphere, and the other one would be the camera with the off-camera flash. That was for a long time, but I think last time I did that was more than 3 years ago. So now I'm really comfortable. For me, my playground, it's like the getting ready and the party. So I've been trying everything that I can imagine, like for 8 years in the parties. So I've always stayed longer, and because if you miss something in the party, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, it doesn't
You know?
matter. Yeah.
So the parties have been my playground, and I've tried many things, putting the flash in the floor, putting backwards, putting, you know, like putting gels and whatever, you know. 3
Yeah.
flashes, 5 flashes. I've tried a lot of things.
Yeah, you know what? I've been the same. I've even I've never put it on the floor because I think my flashes will just get kicked around like a football. But I think like but I've changed like obviously positions. I've changed like switching 1 2 3 4 on, 1 2 3 4 off, or like I've tried like backlighting with a color gel just to match a DJ light or to give stuff like that. And like I think that is a really big benefit of like obviously like I always stay till the end of every wedding, so
You
it
can
becomes a
risk
play.
it.
Yeah, I can risk it, and then you learn as well. Then I'm like, okay, this was a good
Yeah.
idea in this kind of space.
So like this last year, what I was focusing on, I wanted to have lighted the whole room. So this last weddings I shot last year, always I was trying to light everyone in the room, but not with the bouncing flash, and with a nice light, you know, like and that had been a challenge this year, and I learned so much. I'm so happy with the results of it, you know, because sometimes I've used like 5 flashes in a
Yeah.
venue, and it's just amazing, and I've learned so much this year. And so now for this coming year, I know what I have to do. I know, because I want everyone to so that you can see everyone. And I don't know if you can remember now, like a picture I took this year of everyone is watching a slideshow, and you can see everyone's faces in the room.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that.
Yes, and that is just amazing, and that's with 5 flashes, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you cannot tell it's a flash, because if I just boom light it whatever, you're gonna say, oh, there's a big flash. No, you just like, you doubt, because I have had photographers writing to me like, how is this lighted? What did you do?
I mean, I keep my flashes on the lowest power possible most of the time.
Yes.
So it's like always just gives you a hint of light, and it's not too off-camera flashy, if that makes sense. Like
Yes.
I don't
Yeah,
want
yeah.
I don't want people to tell. There are some of my images you can easily tell because like I'm shooting into my flash and you can see it. But most of the time I try to make it look like if it was just a reception hall, you know, and it was the light that was in there. Because even though I guess I'm using my own flashes, I don't want them to think that, oh, we didn't ask for this lighting. Why did our DJ give us this lighting when our lighting should be like this, and this, you know? So I'm still trying to stay true, I guess, to what the couple wanted on the day.
But
But
sometimes the dance floor, it sucks.
oh
Sometimes
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not nice at all, you know. So I find like that is a moment to create things with the gels and with the Mac beam, with the silver things, and make it more beautiful.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I always want the couple, I guess, to remember the day better than what it was, if that makes sense. So like even
Yeah.
if their DJ was rubbish and they only had 2 lights, like I'd light it up and make it look like it was way better. They probably go home thinking, wow, our DJ was really good. He must have had a lot of lights for it to look this nice. But it's like really it's just my flashes, you know. Like yeah, I agree. Like I will put the flashes when the dance floor really does suck. Sometimes it sucks the opposite way. Like I'm in situations sometimes where there's too much light, like there's so much going on. Like I have like some clients where they have like proper lighting rigs at the top and it looks like a nightclub, and
Okay.
and it's like the opposite of like when it's really dark, it's too much light, and then trying to overpower that and trying to make nice images is really difficult. It's harder than if there was no light. I can't explain it, but you have to be in the situation
to make the
uh,
decision, to make the right call. But
yeah,
this is the thing, when you manage and when you manage the light, like you are in power of it, like. So that's how I feel, when I arrive to getting ready. I just take a look. I for sure, the first thing I switch off the lights, and I want my natural light. For sure, this is my first choice. But if the available light and if the natural light is not good enough, now I'm confident, and I just put my flash how I like, and I just shoot with that, And that, I think it's a game changer, because it makes you more comfortable, and I know I can deal with any situation. But this gives me liberty, and I think to getting to that point to control your flashes, it's just like you feel safe.
yeah.
As long as you have your monopod with your flash, everything's gonna be okay.
Everything's gonna be all right. You know, like it was this one wedding reception. I was just thinking about it now. It was in Manchester somewhere. I can't remember where, but I think I spent the first 55 minutes of that wedding party not taking any good photos. Literally, I couldn't get the flashes to work, or to work in my favor. I couldn't get the light. I tried setting up 4 flashes, then full power, then half power, then taking some flashes away, then trying to overpower. Then I was like, should I just do bounce, or should I just do natural light? And it took so long before I realized that, how I could work that room. And it was lucky because this one wedding didn't have a first dance, so that was really lucky, because that saved me, because they would have had photos, but they wouldn't have been my style of photos. They wouldn't have been like what I like to deliver. The client would have been all right with it, but it wasn't good enough for me. And then I spent 55 minutes just wandering around this room, and I had a wedding the next day, which was a 3-hour drive away, and this wedding finished at 2 a.m. and I had to be ready at the next place at 7. But I stayed I had to stay until the end, because I was just I missed the first 55 minutes, just trying to get the light right, and I was moving the flashes, there was pillars in the way, so I had to move them in a bit, and then I had to put chairs around the light stand. So
clamps are the best friends. I have a bag full of clamps, and there's always somewhere you can put a clamp. So when I go into a room, I just look up, okay, where are my clamps? Oh, I can put a clamp here, and where I cannot put the clamp, I would put the tripod. But if I can save the tripod, I would just put clamps. And there's always a place to put a clamp. It's amazing.
I know.
And sometimes I ask for a stairs, it's stairs, you say this?
Oh, like a ladder, you mean?
Ladder, yes, ladder. Yes, sorry. Yeah. So sometimes because I always, in the cocktail time, I take some pictures, but then I go to where the dinner is going to be and all these things, and I start analyzing all this in advance. So sometimes I just see that I could put my clamp somewhere, but it's too high. So then I just ask somebody, do you have a ladder? And I just take the ladders, and I do this before people come in the room. So when they come in the room, I already have my lighting set up. I always manage to find something where to put my clamps, and you really have to get creative about it, but it's nice because then the tripod, it's not in the middle, then you don't have to bring that many tripods, and your flash is safe and people are safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What clamps are you using?
So I've tried many. I used to use ones, but they were too big and too heavy. And now the ones that I use are some newer clamps, just really cheap clamps, but they're really good. Fit a thick door or a table or a chair, or I don't know. This I put clamps everywhere. So I have at least 5 or 6 clamps. Because sometimes I also use a GoPro, so sometimes I use it for the GoPro. Sometimes I put my tripod with one flash, lighting the couple for the first dance, and then with the clamp attached to my tripod, I put a flash for the guests. You know what I mean?
Okay, so facing the other way, yeah.
I light both of them, and I just use one tripod.
That's cool. Yeah, For sure, that's a cool idea. Like,
Yes, so just so that you like try to economize as much as possible because I travel a lot. So normally I bring 1 or 2 tripods and but I bring more flashes. So I bring a lot of clamps.
all your flashes, all AD200s then?
So this year I changed because before I was using Yongnuo flashes.
Yeah.
But this year I changed. So right now I have like 2 8200s and 2 V1. And I had my Yongnuo just in case, because this year I was sometimes using them like slave mode if I needed it. But I guess I will buy another 8200. So I'm going to be like with 380. I really love that flash. And I love the round head. Like, the round head, it's just like the light that goes out of it, it's just amazing.
Oh, really?
It's really yes, it's
is that the Pro Photo A1,
like the one, yes. So
like
but the 8200 has you can buy it, the head.
Okay.
So you buy the round head, and the light spreads so nicely. It's just amazing. And the last thing I did is I managed to put the magma thing to the round head. It's really hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can't even put it on a normal flash.
It was so funny. We were in a hotel room with a friend, Zoe, and I was in Portland, and we were talking about this, and we were trying things with the flash, and she was like, maybe we can put it in the round head, and I was like, wow, no, it's too hard. And she said, like, Erica Mann once said, like, it's like putting a condom to an elephant. And it was really hard to put it, but now it's there, so I left it there, and I can't wait to use that with the boob, with the sphere, max sphere. I think that combination is gonna be just like hyper nice, because the round head, it's already super soft. The transition of the light, it's really nice. And I think sometimes I want like really soft light. So I can't wait to try the round head plus the max sphere, because I'm sure it's gonna be like really soft light.
Yeah, that's what I love about the mag sphere. You know what? It's so small, and like on a normal flash, for me it produces really nice light. It's not the softest. It's not like as if you had a big giant softbox. Like, don't get me wrong, because you can never replicate that anyway. But it's for me, it's nice. It's nice.
Light. For me, it's for the party. For the party, I use it a lot, and with the monopod, that's like always the round head. And it was so funny. We call it all the time the boob, you know. So it's like, oh, give me the boob or whatever. And when guests hear you, they're like, what? But the most funny thing happened at a wedding. I was shooting with the flash, with the max sphere, and the father of the bride came to me and he said, like, can I make a question? I say, yes, of course. And he said, like, why do you put a condom into your flash? I was like, and my answer was, actually, it's not a condom, it's a boob. It was really funny. But you know, like, I love MagMod. It's just amazing because it's not heavy, it's easy to bring everywhere, and it's just an amazing modifier. I would never use my naked flash, like never ever.
I use MagMod modifiers all the time, but most of the time I just use gels. So yeah. So sometimes I think maybe like the magnets are a bit too heavy. They make my flash heavier. So I do sometimes think, should I just take Velcro for this year and just put Velcro and then just have like 2 flashes with the MagMod modifier, so then I can use those for like portraits or like bridal prep, and then the rest, because I keep my flashes pretty much bare, you know, just have Velcro with the CTO gels on there. It will make the flashes a bit more lightweight, you know, in my bag, especially for destination weddings. Like,
the only problem I have in destination weddings with the MagMod, it's that if I bring the flash in my bag with me, they always make me take it out, because I guess it looks like the bullets, you know, like the magnets look like a bullet. So, and also the silver things, I've been stopped because of that. Like, what is this? And they try to cut, and I'm like, no, this is a modifier of the light. So then I have to explain everything, and you put it in the light, and then you put this in, and they're like, okay, you know what you're talking about, and
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like once, like a lot of the times I've only been stopped because of like the lenses, because basically if the lens isn't attached to the body,
oh,
this guy was giving me a lesson, but basically the security was showing me, but it's just a black hole, and well, this is with my Canon lenses, so it couldn't pick them up, so it would just be like a black hole in the middle of your bag, and then that's why they always empty my bag and would be like, oh, what is that? And I'll be like, oh, it's just a lens, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, carry on. Because it's not attached to the camera, they can't decipher it. Yeah, it's really strange, but that's what this guy at security said.
To us in Morocco, they almost didn't let us in, and it was because of Frank's lens, the 7200, the Canon one, and they were looking at it everywhere, like open it, and we're like, it's just a lens. And they were like, where is the Osmo, the thing to fly,
Oh, the drone.
Drone. What's the drone? Where's the drone? And we're like, we don't have drones. And they were looking at this white thing, and this is a drone. And we're like, no, this is a lens.
Yeah. Yeah, not allowed. You're not allowed drones in Morocco, no, and in a lot of other countries now.
We didn't know it, and hopefully we didn't had any drone, But if you cannot bring a drone.
No, they'll take it off you. And you'll never see it again.
Yeah, they you don't see it ever again. Yes.
Yeah. So be warned, people. Don't take a drone.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of stories in airports and destination weddings, and
yeah, loads. There's loads. That's a whole different podcast.
Yes, I was thinking that's another podcast. It's everybody thinks like, oh, it's nice. Yes, of course, I love destination weddings, but there's a lot involved into it, and a lot of hours and things that you have to think about, because what you're bringing and everything, like there's a lot of stuff to think about.
I find them really stressful. Before I go, when I'm on the flight, when I land, then I'm shooting, then you shoot one event, then you're like, I need to keep the cards here, then I need to back it up on some SSD drive, then maybe in another drive, and then
it's just the adding systems
until I come home with everything. Then I'm like, oh, finally I can.
Yes, but like it's finding your own system. So, and when something happens, you add something else to your system. So I have a SSD hard disk. It's really small. So, and I shoot double slot cards. So I always download the cards into my computer. I make a copy in my SSD, and I keep one of the cards. So actually, I always have 3 copies. So I have a lot of cards, so that I always have 3 copies until I get home, and I do my backups at home. So it's just about systems, and it's just about how you organize yourself. And like the latest thing I added to my bag, like, okay, so my bag for traveling bag, it's the most nice bag. It's 4 wheels. It's amazing bag. And when they start saying, oh, we're going to put your bags in the plane, blah, 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 I can put it as a backpack.
Okay, yeah, cool.
So, and this is why I bought this bag specifically. So I put it as a backpack. So the backpacks, they don't take it, because I don't want them to take my equipment,
Yeah.
And the latest thing I added to my bag is a spare panties, because once my bag didn't arrive, and I had to buy everything, all my clothes. So at least if you have like some little things with you're safe, like at least in the morning,
Yeah. Fresh underwear is a must.
It's like you have all these systems, and every time something happens, or you talk to other photographers and they tell you, oh, you give you tips, but yes, you have to just learn a lot of things. But it's nice, but it's not as romantic and nice as some people idealize it, I guess. You have to love it. You really have to love to travel, and you really have to love to do it.
Yeah, I do love traveling, and I love seeing new places, meeting new people, and I do have a good time when I'm shooting destination wedding, but I do find it like just super stressful. I have good systems, I come back with four copies of the wedding anyway, as well. And then when I get home, you know, I make another 2 more backups and everything. Like I'm a pretty paranoid person when it comes to all of these kind of things. But I just still find them stressful, you know. It's just yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, but like, yeah, people glamorize it a lot, you know, make it sound like it's like, oh, it's just the best. And it is. The first few times I did it, I was just like, wow, this is flipping cool, you know, being called to go to another country where they have wedding photographers, but they've chosen you to shoot their wedding is a pretty special feeling, I must say. You know, it's very, very nice feeling to be able to shoot someone's wedding in another country. But once that feeling goes a little bit, then it's a bit like, okay, now it's becoming more
depends
stressful.
on your way of life. Yes, we're changing the subject of the podcast, but
Yeah,
it's
all right.
like for me, it's like I have my child like half time, so when I'm traveling, he's with his father, and when I come back, it's a time for me. So for me, it makes sense. But if we had like a normal family, it would be harder to go and leave my kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also for me, it's like most of the time when I shoot abroad, and not always, but most of the time it's with Frank. So it's a way also to see each other. It's a way to spend some time together. So it's nice. And yes, but it doesn't work for everybody, I guess.
Yeah, no. I mean, when I had my first kid, I did like 10 in that year, like destinations, and then I hated myself for that because I missed so much of her first like year. And now I only do 3 or 4, which I find is a really good balance for me anyway. It's quite nice to also leave the country and leave my family, like, you know, absence makes a heart grow fonder and all of that good stuff. So there is a bit of that now and again.
No?
Yeah, of course they do, which is why I like going. And then I miss them as well, because otherwise we're always just together, you know, like we're at home, so, and I'm at home, so, you know, sometimes it's nice to have that little break as well. I know it sounds probably selfish, but it's true. So it is what it is. I was going to ask, like, and then we'll end it soon, but just going back onto like, you know, flash and stuff like that, but do you have any like cool lighting tricks that you find yourself like, you know, using like frequently, like, you know, like a go-to where you're like, yes, I know this is going to be a really good image and the couple are going to love it, you know? Do you have any like tricks or tips or anything that you do?
So like I say, my go tip would be like always have a monopod with a flash and the sphere, you know. That would be like my go tip. I love side lights, and like something super easy. It's just like light the couple, and then with the gel with a second flash light the background, and that would always work, because that is like, that Uncle Bob cannot do that, you know, and nobody can do that with the phone. So that will make you like step out of the normal photographer, and it's easy, you know. It's like the basic thing you can do.
Yeah, that's so like you're basically like the couple. This is for portraits, and I'm going to assume like when you're lighting the.
But anyways, like for the ceremony or for the getting ready or situations that are happening, I always have at least one light, you know. And it's like I try to put it as high as possible and as spread as possible, as if it was the sun coming in a window. So I try to emulate that light. That's what I do, and I do it in any situation. So that's if I just have one flash. So because it's hard to explain just like in the podcast, and you cannot show it. So I'm going to talk about that in NineDots. So I'm going to show my system. I'm going to show my schemes of light, you know, and because actually the system, my system is really easy, but it took me so long to get to it.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? Like even sometimes when I'm shooting, people are like, oh, you like make it seem like easy, but I'm like, I've been trialing and erroring, like, and I'm still doing that now to this day. Like it's not just, I just don't walk into a room and suddenly go, boom, 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 boom. I'm going to put flashes here and my light is going to be perfect. That's never happens.
Now it's easier to learn things. I see people that are starting and they're like 2 years or 3 years in the business, and they're like, wow. And I am amazed. And it took me so long to get where I am right now. But also when I started, I've been a wedding photographer for 18 years.
Wow.
So when I started, there was no podcast, no YouTube, no community, no conferences or workshops or anything, you know. And now it's easy, and we put like what I teach. it took me a long time to learn, and trial and error. Yes, and it works for me. It doesn't mean that it has to work for everybody. It's just like what's good for me, for my aesthetics, for what I like.
Yeah, it's personal taste, like
Yeah.
definitely. Same for me as well. Like not everyone will like the way I shoot or the way I light, but I like it and my clients like it, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's important thing. There's not right or wrong.
I remember like actually the way I started as well. Yeah, because you're right. There's a lot of like, learning now, online workshops, conferences or whatever. But like I started like learning Flash when Flickr was around, and I basically joined some Strobist group, and then I met some bunch of guys who had like 3-4 models and they just shoot them. And they were all hobbyists. And I went to one of these meetups, and it was like cost me £10 to go. And I took like 2 flashes, and I just tried to figure out how to do off-camera flash, and it took me so long. I spent like 6-7 hours just learning, and I was getting it wrong all the time. But it was quite nice because these guys would help you out. And then I stumbled upon Zach Harrius, and I put the CD.
The
one light, yeah, exactly. The one light DVD.
How I started.
Yeah, that's how I started. Like I watched that one light DVD. It was amazing. And I was just like, if you can do this with one light. And then the next meetup, I went with literally just one light. And I was just like, I'm just going to master this one light. I don't care about any other lights. And then,
exactly. You have to start just with one.
Yeah. And then I learned just like that. Like the 3, 4, 5 flashes, they came afterwards. And that was lighting the scene rather than portraits. But even when I do portraits now, I only still just use one light. I don't use 2 light sources.
A lot of flashes when I want to light up a whole room.
Yeah, exactly. Same.
But I use each one of them as with the mentality of an individual flash. You know what I mean? So at the end, it's just the same system multiplied by the flashes you put.
Yeah. I get what you mean. Like in the separate areas and stuff like that, like how you use it, right? Yeah. I'm pretty much the same.
We're always pushing ourselves outside of our boxes,
That's the beauty of this job. That's what keeps you on your toes and keeps it fresh.
Our job, it's so creative, and we can do so many things, and we can push each other, and this year I'm going to try to do the opposite of what I do. I'm going to keep doing what I master, but I have to learn something else. So now I'm going to try soft light, and I'm going to experiment with that and see how it merged together,
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. Really really looking forward to hearing your talk now at the gathering and your mini masterclass. It's going to be fun.
I can't wait. Yes, and to play ping pong.
1, 2, 3. Listen.
You can listen to previous episodes of the Dotcast anywhere people normally listen to podcasts, and you can find out more about NineDots membership and the NineDots gathering at nine-dots.co.